You said toys. That sparked my memory. I remember in 2009, it was actually President Obama was throwing out the first pitch for the MLB All-Star game.
Oh, right.
So he was outside with Reggie Love practicing. And my ex-husband and I brought Layla. She was probably 7 weeks to the White House. And, you know, we met him and we took pictures and things like that. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I was nursing. I have to nurse. And so I kind of like talked to somebody on the side or whatever. And President Obama was like, yeah, just go in there. It's fine. Like, we'll go out here and pitch and you go ahead and nurse.
That's so him.
I nursed in the Oval Office. In the Oval Office while they did pitching outside.
It's like, we got a room in there. Just go sit in there.
Sasha Malia, they were cool. You know, like, I understand.
Just go in there.
Understand motherhood. It was, so I always tell Layla's claim to fame is that, she
was nursed in the Oval Office. This episode of IMO is brought to you by Progressive Insurance.
How you doing?
I am great. I really am, feeling the summer heat.
Yeah, I got a good night's sleep last night.
Did you?
I slept so hard, my arm hurts.
Don't you? Isn't that the thing about getting old? You
just fall asleep in a position and it's bad and
the sleep injury.
I woke up my shoulder. What did I do?
I know. And there's no good story. You can't say that you were going for a layup or skiing down a mountain. It's just like, old. I slept wrong.
Just getting old. God. And I remember when Mom and Dad used to talk about stuff like that and we were like, please.
It's like, I slept wrong. It's like, how do you sleep wrong? I got a crook
in my neck.
How is there a wrong way to sleep? Well, when you're 60 plus, it's hard finding the right way to sleep.
Oh, man.
But you're looking good. I am really excited. I'm always excited about our guests, but our guest this time, the book, Can-Do Mindset. Really a really amazing read. And before we bring her out and get so wrapped up in the conversation, I just want to make sure that everybody picks up this book and reads Candace Parker's story. Her voice in this book is amazing. It's real. She's down. If you liked her before, you will love her after really hearing how deep and thoughtful she is on a number of different fronts.
Yeah. We get a lot of material when we're doing research on this. So this book was so easy for me to read. And, I've said before on our show that I became a reader as an adult, right? So I wasn't one of these little kids who read a bunch of books until I only read when I had to read. This is a book for people who aren't readers because they're going to pick it up and it's going to be like like watching television. Like it's just story after story. But let me stop and get on with the intro so we can get her out here. So Candace Parker is one of the most influential athletes of this generation. After being selected number 1 overall in the 2008 WNBA draft by the Los Angeles Sparks, Parker went on to win 3 WNBA championships and take home 2 Olympic gold medals. Since retiring, she serves as an author, public speaker, activist, entrepreneur, and studio broadcaster. Her new book is The Can-Do Mindset, which I've shown here. How to cultivate resilience, follow your heart, and fight for your passion. Without any further ado, Candace, come on out, girl. I feel like I know you now that I'm reading all about you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being here.
I am a huge fan of the show.
Oh,
so I got cool points from the fam.
Oh, man. Well, I want to hear all about how the fam is doing.
With y'all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks for being here.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
Because I want to start there. Your journey is profound in so many different ways. What made you decide to, take this step? Some would say, you're so young. How you telling your story? You're a baby.
It's so funny because in basketball years, I am ancient.
You're a baby.
Oh, I'm
crazy.
sure. Yes.
I'm 39 years old.
Oh.
And when I walked out of the locker room, I was 38. And I felt like it was time for me to stop playing basketball because I didn't recognize any of the music in the locker room. And I started listening to lyrics. You know how you start listening like, wait, what did T Grizzly just say?
Yeah.
Why is it okay? And so that was I am actually ancient in basketball years. And, 16 years, I feel like I learned a lot in my basketball career, but more so off the court from all the lessons that basketball taught me and the relationships that the game gave me. I mean, the experiences, the travel, living in China and Russia and Turkey and, so to now. And I just felt like it was a great time to kind of reflect on, a closing of a chapter. They say athletes have 2 deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
right.
I felt like I was beginning a different life and I wanted to close the book on that one.
I have to tell you that, we have so much in common. Our families and yours. We're the youngest and youngest sisters with basketball brothers. You went one direction. I did not. The advent of Title IX probably had a whole lot to do with just my interest. But hearing about your parents and their devotion, just the culture of basketball in your household, the relationship with your dad, a lot of it resonates.
Parallels, yeah.
But I also, felt kind of mixed about, it's like, man, I could see that little Candace being hard on herself. But I was mixed about, whether your dad is your coach, whether that was part of the challenge that you had. You had a lot to aim for. You had big brothers you were trying to keep up with. You had a dad that, was going to coach you like the guys. How much of that do you think had to do with how hard you have been on yourself throughout your life thus far?
Before I had kids, nurture and nature, I thought that a lot of it was nurture, which I do believe my parents cultivated this environment. My brothers, the same. But when you have kids, you realize you're just guardrails.
Yeah.
And my parents were amazing guardrails in allowing me to be who I am and who I was as a kid. During that generation, this is before 1996 where women took over the Olympics, and it was 20 years from Title IX.
Yeah.
So my parents being okay with me coming back with holes in my stockings from winning at kickball at recess and I was so high in the trees, my mom would worry that the branches were getting thin and I was gonna fall out. Like they allowed me to be me. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I've taken from them is that is a superpower to be able to be empowered to be yourself.
Yeah.
And from a young age, it didn't matter whether I was a little girl with bows in her hair or whether I was, knocking down free throws on the basketball court, beating boy, whatever it was in the classroom, my parents had this expectation of being the best you could be. And as cliche as that sounds, I think it was the mindset that they developed in us, because I can still hear my dad sitting at the table, like I'd bring home a 92% or 94% on a test. And he would be like, but I know that's the highest grade in the class, but is that your best?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, but dad, like, mom, I got a 94%. And so that is the level of expectation in everything that we decide to do.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that because it started with my parents, putting up the guardrails. And so now that I have kids, I realize like, man, they were really good at this because it is hard.
Oh, yeah.
It is hard as a parent to not do things for your kids and to allow them to suffer, because the reason why we are the way we are is because of, the struggles and being uncomfortable and stuff like that. And you want to provide so much comfort for your kids. Yeah. But my parents were great at like allowing us to figure it out.
You feel like, oh, I know so much more. I want to protect my kids from things that I wasn't protected from. And it really takes an intentional mindset to let that go and let them sort of figure it out on their own. You know, we were talking a little bit about being siblings and talk about your relationship with your brothers.
Mm-hmm.
My brothers.
And by the way, I want to say a nice hello to your brother Anthony, who I've worked in as colleagues when I was still working in the NBA, and he's gone on to do great things with the Orlando Magic. And I don't know your older brother, but I'm just imagining.
Yeah,
from
he was
the
just
book,
a doctor.
He was only a doctor.
So. He was the disappointment.
Just a black sheep, black sheep of the family.
He was a black sheep.
Yeah, I went to Johns Hopkins. Black sheep of the family.
Couldn't get it together.
Couldn't get it.
It must have been really tough. And we joke with Misha all the time how tough it was being behind me, but it must have been really tough being behind those two.
The reason why I can do what I do on television is because I had brothers.
Yep.
When I sit at the table and Shaq makes fun of my suit and calls me a couch.
Yes, right. Yeah.
You know, and says that my suit coat looks like a couch. And keeps coming with jokes and whatever.
Yeah.
The reason why I can go back at him is because, well, first, I had older brothers. Second, we didn't have Google, so you had to come with straight facts.
Yes.
So you had to remember, all of these things. And so, or go look it up in the encyclopedia. But I am confident and comfortable and able to walk into rooms, but also the humility that you have to have as a little sister.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter. I mean, I can remember being made fun of for it's just, it develops, you have a thick skin for, you know what I mean? And I wanted all the smoke. I wanted all of it. I wanted to be the one that was at the table. I remember sitting at the table and actually telling a joke and everybody laughing. And that being like a rite of passage.
It's like,
that's what it is.
I finally got one in.
I mean, it's like finally. And then I also remember sitting at the table and flipping the Monopoly board where we were still finding pieces years later. Because
that sounds familiar.
Okay. Yeah. Don't get him started.
And my brothers never let me win.
Oh my God.
Never.
I'm just like, and I was
win.
like, it's
why do y'all do that?
And it's so unfair because it's like he'd go off and practice a game, like Battleship or whatever, get it right, and then be like, Mish, let's play now. And I'm like, what game is this? I never heard of Battleship. And then he beats the heck out of me.
Hey, it's in the toy box with all the other toys right there for you.
You all are not right. Well, my brothers used to not plug in my controller for Sega.
So
I'd be in there like, yeah, and then I realized it wasn't plugged in. Like that's the type of stuff my brothers used to do. But when I tell you, when I won, I know I won.
Yeah.
And by them not letting me win actually made me better. And whether it was the game.
But there were some Monopoly board flips. See, that's what happens
and
when you're young.
And
I used to just hit him as hard as I could in the middle of his back. That's all, that's all I had,
But the Monopoly board flip, it's here for everyone to see. I wasn't making it up. I want to get to your time at Tennessee too, because Pat Summitt is, I've always admired her from afar. But I want to back up a little bit there was a point in the book when you talked about your coaches at your school believed in your abilities before you did. They could see how good you were going to be. Talk about how your development went, right? From your own mindset, because you were really good, but you didn't know how good you were.
I can still hear Coach Summitt. I can still hear her say, "You have never arrived."
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I feel like was a part of my upbringing without the correct verbiage from my parents. In 7th grade, my coach sat me down and was like, I think you can be the best player in the state.
In 7th grade?
And I was like, the state?
Yeah.
Just the state?
Ooh, okay.
And I was humble in the present, but I was motivated to be the best in the future.
Yeah.
And when I arrived at Tennessee, I went to Tennessee to be a big fish in a big pond. I didn't take the time to think, whoa, I'm good at basketball or I'm not good at basketball or whatever. It was just to try to be one of the best, to play there and to win and, focus on, my left hand, getting my left hand hook, my left hook better or being able to, dribble the basketball and shoot and pass at 6'4". I was motivated so many times in my career by the can'ts.
Yeah.
That when they turned to cans, I had to find something else, to be motivated by. And I was grateful that my dad knew what buttons to push as a coach, and Coach Summitt, boy, she knew what buttons to push. If she told me I couldn't guard somebody or she told me that, I couldn't do this, I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And, I'm grateful for the mentors and the coaches that I've had that understand how somebody ticks.
Yeah.
Because it really is the mindset in anything you do. Getting people motivated or getting you in the right frame of mind to accomplish the things you want to accomplish. And I never really stopped and thought like, okay, this is where I'm at. It was more so like I kept moving the goalposts. And, in the book, I talk about how that can be a positive, but moving the goalposts also doesn't allow you to really appreciate what you have accomplished in the moment.
Yeah.
Like my 16 years in the WNBA flew by.
Yeah.
The WNBA championship, I was like, the next day, okay, I love that feeling. Let's do it again. So it's also a balance of realizing the present and appreciating it.
This segment is brought to you by Progressive Insurance, where progress isn't just in the brand's name, it's what they stand for. Because home ownership isn't just about having a place to live, it's about building a lasting legacy. And personally, we've invested similarly with our kids' education. We were really lucky to have parents who invested in our education, and it makes us want to pay it forward for our kids. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, yeah, it was, surprising to me when we entered Princeton for a school that wealthy, that there was still a requirement for entering students to have a wide variety of ways that they had to contribute to tuition. So we had to take out personal loans. We got a little bit of a grant from the school. Our parents, even though they were working class folks, they had to take out a loan.
We had work study.
We had work study as well. That was before the days of loan forgiveness, or need blind admissions. We didn't go to Princeton during that time. And I remember it being, for you, especially when you had the choice of going to a Division I basketball school on a full scholarship, right? Or going to Princeton University, and you were struggling with the idea that you wouldn't take a free ride and substitute that for what was considered the better education.
Yeah.
You remember what Dad said when you said that?
Yeah, because I said to Dad that I was going somewhere other than Princeton. And he asked me why. And I said, well, because we have to pay. And he said to me, if you make your decision based on what I have to pay, I'd be really disappointed.
Yeah.
And you know how hard that was for us if Dad was ever disappointed in us. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I had to rethink what I was doing.
Well, our parents had the foresight even back then to know that making that kind of investment would pay itself off. And luckily for us, they made that investment in us. That's one of the reasons why when I talk to families, I talk to kids about, is it worth taking out a loan? The answer is usually yes, because you're going to earn that back more than double, more than triple what you put in. And you and I, we've always thought about that when it came to investing in our own kids' education. It was never a question. I would think we were in a different position than our parents. We didn't have to take out loans at high interest rates. But the point is that an education is the best investment that you can make in your kids. And I'm grateful to them that they did that for us.
Mm-hmm. Homeownership can be one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available, especially for first-generation homeowners. It's more than just owning property. It's about unlocking life-changing possibilities. Progressive's $7 million commitment in 2024 was for housing initiatives and new offerings like the UP payment, which is helping homeowners turn today's equity into tomorrow's opportunity. Your home isn't just a roof over your head. It's the foundation for your future. If you're ready to explore how homeownership can be a key to your financial freedom, visit progressive.com/openthehouse. Because when it comes to building wealth and a legacy, Progressive Insurance is here to help you open the door. And I will preface this by letting the audience know, you go from college to the pros. It goes from being sort of a family to transactional relationships. And
so business, you learn that real quick.
So what was that transition like? Because it had to be so diametrically opposed to the way you were brought up in your family, the way you were nurtured at Tennessee, and now you're a pro. And talk about the NBA as well as having to go overseas playing.
2008 was a big year for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
2008 was a big year.
What was going on?
My transition into the NBA, WNBA, my transition into the WNBA was one that was like this. Mm-hmm. One night,
it was crazy.
We're hanging the banner. We're cutting down nets. We're, champagne. I was 21, so I could drink. Mm-hmm. The next afternoon at 2:30, I got drafted into the WNBA by Los Angeles.
Right.
It was the Olympic year. So we won the national championship, got drafted. Training camp started 2 weeks later, went straight into training camp. Didn't even get to move out of my apartment. You got to sign a shoe deal. You got to, endorsements, sign an agent, all those things. Financial advisor. Moved out to LA, which is still home today, which I'm grateful for. Olympic break. So 2008, went to the Olympics. I was just exhausted.
I bet.
It's one of those things where this is everything I have ever dreamed of and more. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to be in bed. I just wanted to go to sleep. I wanted to take a nap.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing is this amazing year. I look back and I'm like, all I can remember is being tired. Mm-hmm. And I was really tired. I came back from the Olympics and came back with more than a gold medal. I was pregnant with my daughter when I came back. Mm-hmm. And then immediately I went into, what is everybody going to think? Mm-hmm. How is this going to impact my career? I won Rookie of the Year and MVP that year. And I was 7-8 weeks pregnant with my daughter.
I can't believe that.
And I think it's the fear that every mother that has gone through this feels, where you have invested so much time into your career and your craft. And it's the worry of, this is everything I've ever wanted. I always wanted to be a mom. Mm-hmm. But how is this going to fit into what I've worked so hard to accomplish? There were so many people that were, in my ear, close friends and family that were like, is this a great time for you to, maybe we should think about other options? Mm-hmm. And I always wanted to be a mom. And again, I leaned on Coach Summitt. She was able to do it. She was able to be one of the best ever and still have a child and still balance both. Companies want you once you have the kid to tell the story, but they don't want you when you're pregnant. So as an athlete, you kind of are valuable to be able to run and jump and do all those things. And so immediately when I announced that I was pregnant, I remember telling people and then immediately being like, but I'm going to come back July 5th. It was almost like me cushioning the blow a little bit.
Right.
And I hate that looking back.
Yeah.
You know, I thought strength was coming back in 56 days after having my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But then if that's strength, then weakness is taking 6 weeks of maternity leave.
Yeah, letting your body
heal
fully.
Putting your family in those moments first.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a lot in 2008. The transition into the WNBA and
I mean, I think
motherhood.
A lot is an understatement. You know, I mean, I really do think. And you're how old? You know, while all this is going on. And now that you're not even 40 yet and you think you're old, now you realize how young you were, right? I mean you have a daughter that's getting close to that.
She's 16.
That age, right?
16 years old.
I mean, the amount of maturity, the composure that it took for you to manage through all of that in one piece. I mean, I want to sit on this for a second because this is the part where I get really irritated at people who undervalue women athletes and women, period, who talk about pro-life and all this stuff. But like you said, you know, they like it, you know, they like it in theory. But we don't have a country that values something that is so amazing as giving birth. So I want to spend a little time on that. Let you talk a bit about, preach on that for us, Candace.
I will preach on that. When I entered the WNBA, which is a league of women, ran by women, operated, employed, all of those things. There was no maternity leave. So if you didn't play, you didn't get paid. We shared rooms at the time. This is 2008 in the WNBA. I had to buy out half my room. I was insistent on nursing because I didn't want to give my daughter less, which it's not less, but...
And explain buy out your room, because I don't think our listeners know what that...
So we shared a room, so I had to buy out half of my room, which was my portion of the room, and buy another room.
Right.
Wait, when you're traveling on the team, you have to pay for...
No, I needed my mom to travel with me because I was nursing my daughter, so I would have to pay for her plane ticket on our flights to bring my daughter along. And you're not going to share a room with your teammate, your mom, and your baby. And so I bought out my portion of the room so that I could travel.
I would have thought the team paid for your room.
No, not at that time.
See, that's what I'm not at that time.
Thing.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's,
so you're playing in a professional league, and you literally have to house yourself
because I brought my daughter along with me, and that's the challenge. Things are better now, but they're still not where they should be, especially a league of women, which, let's be honest, the WNBA is so special because we are the majority of the minority in this country. And I say that in socioeconomic background. I say that in LGBTQ plus community. I say that in Black women. I mean, we should be the standard for maternal health and family planning. And we're not. And I challenge us to be, because how do you not have maternity leave for female athletes? And now you're seeing it is better. But again, there are so many ways that we could be the standard, you know, of excellence.
One of the parts of the book that really resonated with me was your time when you had to go play overseas with her as a baby. And I said to Mish and our producers when we were talking about the book, I said, you know, I played overseas for a couple of years, and if I had to take one of my 4 kids with me, we'd have never survived. We'd have never survived. They wouldn't have survived. I wouldn't have survived. The team wouldn't have survived. It would have been a mess. We could probably still be over there somehow. But, I mean, you took your baby to Russia.
China,
but you had to. That wasn't because,
but I would love to hear you talk a little bit about that and how you had to go over there because that's where the money was for women at the time, and in some cases still is.
I am grateful for my mother
Amen.
because my mother made it possible for me to feel at ease with taking my baby abroad.
Mm-hmm.
There's this guilt when you aren't unable to raise your children the way that you were raised. That's your vision of.
Yep.
And she cushioned that. My mom would make home-cooked meals over in Russia using ingredients that we had to look up in our little Google Translate book, I'm grateful for her. She made it easier for me, mentally and physically. Layla Nicole, I just have to say, I undervalued the ease that she provided for me. Having her move my first love to the side. Basketball was secondary and everything. And being able to take her overseas, again, I think overseas would have just been a checked box. I got over there, I did it. But looking at her, I realized this was her childhood. I couldn't just hurry up and wait and speed up time to get out of Russia.
Yeah.
We had to enjoy it. So we went out and we did things. We did barbecues in the winter. We did, we went and watched the polar bear plunge where people jump in the ice and dip 3 times. We went and played at play yards. We did play dates. We learned about the cuisine and the food and experienced the culture.
You had to meet other parents. She had to make friends, which meant you needed mom friends.
We had no idea half the time what they were saying, but we made friends.
I like the story of the first play date that she went to.
Yes.
And talk about that.
Yeah, Layla decides to do a play date, which I put Layla in Russian school for her to learn Russian, and she taught everybody English.
She's like, I can make this easier for all of us.
Exactly. It was the opposite effect. I'm like, that's my kid. You put her in an environment and she's going to somehow adapt the environment. Like that's her. That's her. And, she wanted to do a play date. I think she was like three at the time. And in Russia, all of the buildings look beat up. It's not about what it looks like on the outside. It can be a really nice apartment on the inside, but the buildings don't look very nice out on the outside. So we pulled up to a building like that. Didn't think of anything of it. We go inside and there's like no floor. Like it's almost like a dirt. And then there's a center oven that heats the room, but also serves as cooking. And then there's kind of a bed against the wall. And so I open the door and she's kind of in front of me and I can't get to her because I don't want her to say anything, and she looks around and I'm waiting, I'm holding my breath and I'm like, they're going to understand some English if she says something. And she goes, a dollhouse. And the 2 kids run over there and start playing in the dollhouse. I have to compose myself because I am just in tears.
Yeah.
Because that's her. And it's as a result of the experience we had overseas because we realized people are people no matter where we live, what your upbringing is, how much money you have, all of those things. And I say this that we've been well off, but we've grinded. We would turn on the water in Russia and have to let it run because it'd be yellow or, we'd pull up to some places where we didn't know what we were eating, and we lived in China for 2 years and there would be, no heat so we've grinded.
Yeah.
And Layla is she just made it better. But I just am in disbelief of the kid because she's so special in her soul and she taught me so much. Now, my other 2, my boys, there's no chance taking them overseas. I realized how much of an amazing traveler Layla was.
First of all, they're boys.
Because the boys, nobody told me this. I'm looking at Layla like, I got this together.
Yep, you're like, I'm a great parent. Look at me go.
Parent. And then my son, my oldest son was born. he is the one that has made me realize,
it's not about me.
It is not about me.
Yes.
He is the one. Yes. Nobody prepared. The girl moms that are at the pool.
I know, and they're writing
just
quietly.
And the girls are playing with their little horses. And then the boys are like shooting you in the face.
And they're on like a 16-hour flight, just reading and coloring the whole time. I mean, I had 2 girls. It was the same thing. I was like, I don't know what you mean about travel.
Get them to mind. Listen, getting my son to mind. I was on a flight actually coming here, and this couple, they had 3 girls, and she had a little boy about 6 months old, and the little girl was crying getting on the flight, and she turned around, and she's like, "Look at mommy, stop crying." I was like, and then the little girl stopped crying. I said, my son would have. Boys are different. I was a big equality. Girls and boys were all the same. No. Boys have never been on Earth before. Girls have been here.
Yeah,
girls have been on Earth,
and we know, and we're running things.
Yes. Mish used to say when the boys would come to the White House, and they'd be doing what they do, and then she comes in the room, and she's like, "Ooh, why are you guys so moist?"
They were always damp. I was like, why are you
so
wet?
moist?
It's like you just got
boys.
Here. They come into the White House. I mean, it's the White House, the residents, and they come in, and they were like 5 and
young.
They were little,
5 and 7.
They would just come in and just dump in the middle of, right in the front door, trucks and pieces of trucks and Legos. They're here. We're here.
We're here. Here's all our stuff. We go play with this.
And they're damp. It's like, why are they wet? Why are they wet?
And they like smell like little wet puppy dogs. Just little wet puppy dogs.
It's like, where have you been?
You said toys. That sparked my memory. I remember in 2009, it was actually President Obama was throwing out the first pitch for the MLB All-Star game.
Oh, right.
So he was outside with Reggie Love practicing. And my ex-husband and I brought Layla. She was probably 7 weeks to the White House. And, we met him and we took pictures and things like that. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I was nursing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to nurse. And so I kind of like talked to somebody on the side or whatever. And President Obama was like, yeah, just go in there. It's fine. Like, we'll go out here and pitch and you go ahead and nurse.
That's so him.
I nursed in the Oval Office. In the Oval Office while they did pitching outside.
And I tell we got a room in there. Just go sit in there.
Sasha Malia, they were cool. I understand.
Just go in there.
Understand motherhood. It was, so I always tell Layla's claim to fame is that, she
was nursed in the Oval Office.
We're happy to team up with Progressive Insurance for this episode. A home isn't just where you live. It's one of the most powerful tools for building long-term financial security. From building equity to making smart upgrades, understanding how to maximize your home's value can help create a legacy for the future and your family. Progressive Insurance is here with interactive resources like their home appraisal help tool and expert guidance to help homeowners get the most out of their investment. A couple of things we've done to add value to our property is we've upgraded the entryways throughout our house with new screen doors. We've also built a fire pit in the backyard to entertain and chill with our family. And next on the list are new windows and gutters. But these improvements aren't just for our comfort. These are investments in our future. Building wealth through home ownership starts with knowledge. Find tools, tips, and support at progressive.com/openthehouse. Because your home has the power to do more than just house you. It can build your future. In the book, but in your life, the story you tell about meeting Anya was so meaningful. It was so sweet and easy to read. It was just like, I felt like I was there. Can you talk about you guys meeting?
It's crazy. It's, we've been married 5 years.
Okay.
And I met her in 2012, just at the Olympics.
Right.
That was our first time meeting. And then the next year, she was my teammate. And it was like a best friend where all the walls kind of came down.
And she was your teammate in Russia?
In Russia.
Right.
And it was honestly her mind. I mean, we would sit around and talk about Russian history, American history. I would make her go to museums and translate all of the stuff for me in English, you know, and it was really just built on that friendship. And I was going through a really difficult time, you know, in my life. My grandmother was sick, so my mom wasn't in Russia with me. I found myself opening up insecurities and things that I never thought I would share, you know, with someone. And it's crazy because I don't even remember the time that I was like, I like her, or this is more than just friendship. Because in my mind, I was going to marry a man, and I was married to a man, and she was with a man as well for, 6-7 years. And it never even crossed my mind. And I can remember reading The Alchemist, which is one of my favorite books. I read once a year usually. And I've read it from high school because every transition, you see something different in the book. And I remember being fascinated by Fatima in The Alchemist. And Fatima was this, this woman that is everything he ever wanted, but she allowed him to finish his journey and working on himself and experiencing life before love, before she would accept his hand. And it's crazy because I had to work on myself before I would be open and ready. And it was a crazy time because we think it was so long ago that it was 2015 that same-sex marriage was legalized.
Yep.
Which is really
That's
crazy
if you think about it.
No.
And so everybody's like, oh, well, this is just, tell your parents, tell your friends, tell your employers, like tell all of them, it's fine.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm a Black woman. So I've already got two things that precede me before I walk into a room. Now it's going to be who I love, and
she's Russian.
And she's Russian.
And she's white.
Exactly.
Girl, she's white.
According to Layla,
Candace.
according to my daughter at 7 years old, she's like, Anya, you're not white, you're Russian. I was like, well, but yeah, it was challenging, to say the least. And in so many ways, I had to unpack this mindset that I had, because I remember when fans would come up to me and be like, you're not like all the other WNBA players. You're straight and you're, da-da-da-da. And I, in some ways, wore it like an okay, type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I had a fan come up to me while I was married to Anya and say this. And it was at that moment where I was like, I talk about my daughter being who she is and standing up for what she believes in and loving who she loves. How am I going to tell that to my sons? And I'm not even, people don't even know about their mom.
Right.
I mean, she was pregnant with my son when we won in 2021 and nobody had any idea that we'd been married for 2 years. Yeah. But our kids, their safety and my daughter being able to do what I say, not do as, what is it? Do as I say, not as I do. Like, I want to do as I do.
Yeah.
And I want my daughter to know that, I'm proud of who I am and, what we represent. And I love Anya with every ounce in me. I'm so grateful for her and, the human being that she has allowed me to work on, and,
well, it takes some strength on her part, right? I mean, to be married to you for 2 years and not to be able to say that. And the fact that your relationship, your marriage survived that kind of pressure. I mean, that just speaks to the power of your love for one another, and it says a lot about her.
If we think it's difficult here in Russia, it isn't accepted still.
Yeah.
And, her dad and mom didn't talk to her for a while. I was extremely grateful for my family because they let me go through the process.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had opinions. And I can remember when I told my dad the next day was coming to our house. So I told him last minute, and he didn't have a lot of time to process.
He was like, hey, Dad,
I'm one of those that's
Thanks,
like,
Candace.
I was the collect call, like, real quick, why are we talking about it? And we just hang up, I used to be really uncomfortable in conversations like that. Okay. And I'm grateful for my family that allowed me to have those conversations in the ways that were best for me.
Yeah.
And I can remember my dad's remarried, and his wife was like, your dad was crying last night. So I'm like, I'm sorry, like da-da-da. And he's like, no, I'm sad that you didn't feel like you could tell me.
Yeah.
I bet that.
And so he's like, I want you to be happy. And he's like, Anya is literally the person that was made for you and what you represent and what you want to be. Like, she's soft enough to cushion the blow, but strong enough to tell you when you're wrong and put you in place and all those things you need in a partner. He said, I just am sad that you didn't feel like you could tell me, And so I think as a parent, it's allowed me to kind of step back and look at the way that, I parent. And sometimes it's not the person. Sometimes it's you can't. You need to come to grips. You need more time. And so it's just understanding that when my daughter has things to tell me, it's on her time.
I'm so happy that you share that story. I mean, we still live in a time, no matter how far we've come, where there's still families that are looking for permission structures and ways to have these conversations with each other. Having somebody of your stature be so open, and not just your journey, but your parents' journeys. I mean, we've had folks on the show before who can vocally give voice to how a parent should talk about this stuff with their kids who are non-binary, to give them the words to help them work through the emotions. This, sadly, is still all so new. But the fact that, that this piece of your life is front and center in a way that is really powerful and real is going to do a lot for people. So I just want to tell you how proud I am that, you went there.
I appreciate you so much. I really do. And I think sometimes you have to give people grace to come to terms with who they are first.
Yep.
So when supporting, and I'm no expert on this, I just can speak from my experience. I feel sympathy for the power element, because I think power is sometimes the kid that requires, obviously their parents to still take care of them or whatever, like taking that and using it against who somebody is, challenging. And there's so many people that have come up to me and talked to me about their relationships and, their parents not accepting them or somebody that supported them in a way that they felt seen. And it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what you do for a living. This is raw. And when you are walking this journey, it's scary. Yeah. And, I was a grown woman going through this, and it was difficult. And so I just really emphasize the importance of support. I think everybody, no matter who they are, need it.
Yeah.
We have a guest letter. People write to us, they email us, and they come up with these wonderful questions, and then we try and give them some opinions and advice and help. And today we've got one from Jenny from New York. All right.
I have a question about career and personal growth. I'm very lucky to have found a lot of success in my initial career path. I've basically been working at the same company since college and am now one of the youngest senior leaders at my company. But now I'm in my early 30s and feel like although I work really hard, I don't feel challenged anymore. I'm worried that after all my initial success, I'm struggling to find my future growth path. How do you build a life where you keep growing instead of just chasing one big moment? And how do you figure out how to make the right kind of changes? Jenny from New York.
So we figured that fit you perfectly. So.
Oof, how do you unpack that?
It's like, and give her an answer, Candace. No.
But you've had to, you've had to focus in a lot of different ways, short-term, long-term, focus for your family. What comes to mind when you hear Jenny's question?
The most interesting people I've ever met have always had some sort of challenge that they've given themselves, whether it's, to work out 3-5 times a week, or whether a 30-day challenge, or whether it's to learn the guitar. I think there's that childlike mentality that some of us lose as we get older and we get into the monotony of work and, all of those things that I think it can be satisfied through other areas. So if you don't want to give up your career and you don't want to completely pivot, I think it's about figuring out ways you can challenge yourself in other areas of life. And I truly believe that I spent my entire career chasing that WNBA championship. Nights waking up in a cold sweat after losses of game, last second game winners, all of those things. And when we won the championship, it didn't feel how I thought it would feel.
Yeah.
And then you really realize when people say it's not in the destination, it's in the journey. It's in that dash. Which is, I talk a lot about that in the book. It's in the dash. It's not the start or the end. It's who you become in that process. And so I would challenge Jenny, if she doesn't feel satisfied, there are ways to challenge yourself, because when you excel in something, in a career or whatever, you have to enjoy challenges a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I think what it's saying, it's more of the lack of challenges. So I think it is about starting something new, being a rookie again.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have so many chapters in our lives. But that's not how we're socialized to think. I've said in Becoming, one of the questions I hate the most that we ask kids is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because it says that, life is finite in some way, that you pick a thing and that's who you are. And the older I get, the more I realize that, no, life, the fun in life is embracing all the different chapters. And it takes some of the pressure off of each individual chapter to be everything, because it's not supposed to be. This job isn't supposed to be your everything. I was like you, as much as I wanted to be a mother, and I think being a mother is the best thing that I have ever done in my life. And I always wanted it. I had to work at it because of infertility stuff, but even that, if I put my everything into that, I would probably overparent my kids.
Yes.
I would probably not. I would be too invested in the happiness they were giving to me. So having something even outside of motherhood, has been really important, because that should be finite, right? I mean, at some point, your kids have to grow up and become themselves. But if you're so invested in it, you might delay that if you haven't thought about the next chapter after that. So I would tell Jenny is you're right on schedule. This probably is just a sign that you are ready for the next chapter. And instead of fearing that, embrace it. It's like you're continuing to evolve, and now there's something fun in figuring that out.
We're getting a little taste of that by doing this podcast at our age.
Yeah, yes,
I mean, the best thing that's happened to somebody like me, because I've always been one. Our parents were like, try everything. Well, that turned out to be my career. I started out a little basketball here, a little corporate America, a little coaching, a little front office in the NBA, administration, and now podcast host. And I can tell you, Jenny, it as long as you're not afraid to start over, you can do anything. And to Candace's point about the journey, that's what you learn in sports. Because we all, and not everybody learns it because not everybody wins. But what you learn when you win is that, man, that was good, but it was so much more fun trying to win. Is once you get there,
yes,
it's great.
One of my favorite books, and I talk about it in here, it's called Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Yeah.
And it's an easy read.
Yeah.
But it's about, and he wants to go into archery and he wants to be, a master at archery, and he's going through the process, and his mentor is basically telling him, no, like, you're first going to learn how to chop wood, carry water.
Yeah.
And throughout
like
the
wax
book,
on, wax
on, wax off. Miyagi, we got that. The Karate Kid mentality. And it's really about relinquishing the results because you are literally at your best in decision-making, in competition, in mastering something when you are relinquishing the actual result and you're just committing to the process. So whether it's the process of wanting to challenge yourself to be better, worrying about what you look like during that process is going to hinder, the future. And so when you're making decisions such as this, you have to relinquish the results. This could work out great, or this could be the worst thing.
Yeah.
But whatever the result of that is, I'm going to be better for it. And I think that's a lot of people hesitate because they're worried about what the results will end up being.
Yeah. Well, I hope that that's helpful to Jenny. And I know our time is short. I just want you to speak on, to this audience a bit about your views of how we should be thinking about the WNBA, women in sports. I want to just give you a minute to emote a bit.
Women in sports have always been judged by everything other than their sport. And this as anybody. I purposely wore my arms out.
Yep.
Because women in sports, it's be strong, but not too strong. Be competitive, but that's a little too competitive. Don't hit your chest. That's not ladylike. I can remember going on a date when I was in high school, and I didn't want to get bowling shoes because my foot was a size 12 men. And, they have the size on the back of the bowling shoes. And so I can remember trying to shrink myself to fit into a world, but I just wanted to hoop. And then the more you hoop, the more you realize there were more girls out there that were like you. And I think that's what the WNBA has done in a nutshell, is that it has made it okay to be yourself. It has made it okay to be competitive and talk junk and get up in somebody's face and be empathetic and all of those things. And I think society is ready for that more so as a result of the WNBA. You look at leadership, it comes in all shapes, sizes, fortunately and unfortunately. And women weren't considered their tone or but where are we gravitating to? Empathy, care, love, all of these things that women innately are. And it was society, I feel like, in a way, holding women's sports back. And that, it wasn't cool to wear women's sneakers. It wasn't cool to put women on video games. It was, it was all these things that women can't do. When you actually look at the numbers, and it's like women are the ones that are buying in the household. They're the ones that are spending the money and have the purchasing power. So now it looks stupid, but at the same time, it is still a challenge. It is still, there were so many times where young dads didn't want, the girls to grow up and sweat and have muscles and things like that. And it's like, now I'm purposeful with it. Like as a kid, I hid my, I hid my muscles. I hid, all those things. And now it's like, I'm proud because I don't think there's one definition in what being a woman is, and especially a female athlete. So with the floor, I will say there's a bunch of eyeballs on women's sports right now, rightfully so. It should be, in dollars and marketing, things like that. I hope to empower and uplift the retired female athletes in the boardrooms, at the cap tables. Because as you all know, you can work as hard as you want, but it's who you know some places.
That's right.
And that's why it's so difficult sometimes to get your foot in the door. And so I just, it's invaluable, the amount of qualities that you develop as a female athlete. And I think we're well equipped, but it's just the problem is we're in our 30s, late 30s, entering into corporate America with less zeros on the end of our checks. And so I just encourage those out there to like seek out female athletes. Like, I think empower, especially the retired athletes that have the skill set. They just need an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you are a phenomenal representation. You really are. You are an amazing woman. And I am grateful that you have shared your journey. I mean, we've only touched on it. I mean, folks really do. You need to buy the Can Do mindset. We didn't even get into the title because Can Do became your name that your parents gave you. And it's an acronym for a whole lot of, you may want to, it's community.
Community, authenticity, navigating negativity, understanding the importance of the dash, and creating and seizing opportunity.
And there are so many gems. I mean, I started writing down quotes, and then I was like, well, I'm just going to be reading the book in this interview if I wrote down everything that was a gem. You are a gift. And I am so glad that you have found your next chapter and will continue, because you're just beginning. Because guess what, Candace, you are a baby.
Tell that to my teammates, okay? Because I am a dinosaur.
I'll tell them.
In basketball.
You are a baby. And we hope to get you back because, again, we only scratch the surface.
Well, I appreciate you all so much. I am an avid listener, and you all just have truly inspired me. I am inspired by all that you have done and accomplished, but I think this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, it is. Like to see brother and sister, and I think sometimes we go through life. I'm leaving tonight actually to go to my brother's 50th. He's doing it in Mykonos.
Okay.
And so I'm leaving tonight and we're going to go celebrate. And I think over this last year, I've really tried to be intentional of celebrating the big and the little moments.
Yep.
And so I think that this is super special, and you all should celebrate it. Because, you guys give the listeners what they want, but also the amount of time that you're able to spend with your siblings. So.
It's the best. It's the best.
Good stuff. Even though he still teases me, and I want to throw the Monopoly board
and you want to hit
face.
him in the back.
She does want to hit me right in the back.
We'll give your family our best.
I appreciate you so much.
Tell your brother happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
He's a baby too. So
Big 5-0. It's crazy. Big 5-0.
Well, good luck to you and everything you do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks again to our friends at Progressive Insurance for sponsoring this episode. For more information, visit progressive.com/openthehouse.